with the ones that are on your test. That's why I do bell ringers with you, so that you can see what is going to be expected on that test. So it says, when are the x values for this polynomial, which is the graph, greater than 0? This is what we learned yesterday. Now, greater than 0, remember, is that top piece. So from -1 to 2. And right away, you can see that there's only one option that says -1 to 2. Okay, so being a multiple choice test, how awesome is that? So being -1 to 2 is already going to be B, because then it goes forward to positive infinity. Now, if you selected C, it's because you went below 0. Below 0 would be C. So this piece, remember, down here is less than 0. This piece up here is greater than 0. Okay, so again, if I asked for less than 0, you would have selected C. Okay, but I asked for greater than, which is above. So again, a very, very easy, I think, question that you could get right on your test. There's really no math involved. It's just being able to visually see it. That's one of the 11 questions on your test. Okay, questions? Okay, we are going to go into the review. If you want to check your answers from day 7, they're in the binder. I didn't scan them in. But the review, the way it's going to work is, I think this is it. Okay, here we go. So again, this is the review for your test. It is a mirror of what the test is going to be like. Remember that there's only going to be one of each problem. So if you notice, like 1 and 2 are very similar. They're the same question, but I'm going to do one of them with you and you're going to do one on your own. That way you get to see it twice before this test. This is usually the test that people do really well on, just because it's multiple choice. So you're able to see if you're on the wrong path. Okay, so over there, this very first one, it says factor the polynomial completely. Well, you're going to have to know like what method to use. So for number 1 and number 2 is difference of 2 squares. So I'm going to write off to the side difference of 2 squares. Okay, because this 1 and 2 are both difference of 2 squares. So just writing off to the side there so I know that that's the method. Okay, difference of 2 squares. You don't need your Chromebooks. You can close them. Okay, so when you do difference of 2 squares, what is the square root of 4? What's the square root of 4? 2. Okay, so I'm going to have 2x here. What's the square root of 36? 6. So what's nice about difference of 2 squares is it's just one's a plus and one's a minus. Ooh, that was bad. And one's a minus. That's it. That one's done. That's how fast it is. So again, I'm writing on the side the method of factoring here. Okay, difference of 2 squares is what that's called. So again, you're doing number 2. You're doing all the evens. I'm doing all the odds with you. Okay, so that you, again, understand how to do these problems. This next one, if you count them, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. 4 terms being factored by grouping, where you have those 2 parentheses. So I'm just going to put on the side here, grouping. So again, if you were to go back in your notes, you know what we're doing. We're doing factoring by grouping. I know it's off to the side, like slanted, but it's the best way I can do it. What's up? Ew. So again, grouping just means that you group the first 2, you group the second 2. What is the GCF of the very first group? X squared. Good. So I'm going to divide each piece by x squared to keep myself organized. Now remember, whatever the GCF is, you write on the outside. A lot of people forget that step and don't know where to go further from there, but that GCF has to go on the outside. So when I divide each piece by x squared, I just get x plus 6. The next group, what is the GCF of 7x and 42?
7x.
Not x, but 7. You are right with the 7. So I'm going to divide each piece by a positive 7. And again, I'm going to write that on the outside. Whatever the GCF is, it goes on the outside of your parentheses. And that leaves me with x plus 6, and we're almost done. Next, one more step, and that's it. Remember, the goal was to get the same thing here. We've been doing this for a very long time now. So these guys are the same. So that's a group. Whatever's the same is a group. The outside pieces now become a group, and you're done. And that's why it's called factor by grouping. There's a lot of grouping going on.
Actually, I did x squared plus 7 versus that.
That's fine. Now you would do 4, again, to review. You're gonna have today and tomorrow to do this, but if we're moving slow for you, you feel like you can do the other one while you're waiting for other people. That's fine. Okay. Questions on factor by grouping? Okay, this next one, count it. You have 3. Whenever you have 1, 2, 3, that's the MA table. Okay, so that's the MA table.
So, kind of like multiply and add.
Yeah, the multiply and add. What multiplies to negative 20 and adds to a positive 1? Because right here's a 1. Well, let's kind of figure that out. For those that don't know right away, go in order. 20 divided by 1 is 20. Doesn't work. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Still not going to subtract to get 1. 20 divided by 3 doesn't work. 20 divided by 4 does work. Which one of them is positive? The 4 or the 5? The 5. Very good. So negative 4, positive 5 are my numbers. Because remember, 5 minus 4 is 1. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. So we're good there. And we're done pretty much. Because A is 1, see that? A is 1. You can go right to the end. So I have x minus 4, x plus 5. A lot of you guys did very well on your factoring quiz. But you did very well because you had examples to go off of. So when I give you this note card today, make sure that you do write one example of each. So you should have like 11 questions on your test, in my opinion. Sorry, on your note card. Because there's 11 questions on your test. Okay, let's do it again. Everyone got it though? Everyone's got it down. So again, there's 3 terms in this next one, just like the last one. So this is another MA table. And I'm going to put with grouping because A is not 1. So because the number in front is a 5 and not 1, you have to do the MA table, but then you have to do grouping. So this is something that you guys have been doing so much, you're probably just really tired of doing it.
We do 5 times 16.
Yep, which is
80.
80. So what multiplies, I'm going to write this on top so that you know where this came from. So a lot of people ask me this question. What multiplies to 5 times 16, which gets me 80? A lot of people ask me where the 80 comes from. And on the quiz, if you got it wrong, it's because you used just 16, you didn't use the 5 times 16. And then adds to the middle term of negative 18. Well, does anyone know right away what that is? 10 times 8, right? Okay, 10 and 8 are going to make my 18.
Negative.
Yeah, they're both negative. Very good. Now again, because the number in front is not 1, you can't go right to the end like the one we just did. You have to break down the middle. So I'm going to break down this piece right here into a negative 10x and a negative 8x. You could have switched it. You could have put negative 8 first. Bring down your 16. Bring down your 5x squared. And now we are back to number 2, where it's factor by grouping. And you guys usually do really well with factor by grouping. So we use a different color here. Group the first 2, group the second 2. What is the GCF of the first group?
5.
5, and then x. Very
How
good.
could 2 go into 5?
2 cannot go into 5, but you get 2 when you divide by 5. So you take out 5x, and you get x minus 2, which I think that's what we were thinking when we said 2. We okay there? It's kind of like this repetitive process that just keeps happening and happening and happening. Now, 8x and 16. But remember, there's a negative out in front. So what's the GCF? Good, negative 8. So that's going to come out. And I get x minus 2. And now we're at that last step because now we have the same thing. X minus 2 is the same. So that's a group. And whatever's on the outside is a group. And you're done. Lots of factor by grouping here. I'll leave that up there for you. I would recommend, if you're making a note card, to put the ones that we're doing together just so that you know that they're right. Okay, because sometimes we do make little errors and that's okay. But you want to make sure that you have ones on your note card that are actually correct. And I will be posting this key later today. I don't want to post it until you've tried it on your own. Okay?
Oh yeah, I don't see a number 9, so I just put a number 9.
That's fine. It's because of the hole punch. Questions?
Silly.
Any questions on that one? Okay, so this next one, if you take a look, there's only 2. So now we have sum or difference of 2 cubes. A lot of people got this one wrong on on that quiz. Okay, so make sure that you are paying attention to this. There is a formula for it, and I will give you the formula on the test. Okay, so I'm going to put sum difference of 2 cubes. And again, the reason why I'm doing that is because if you were to go back in your notes, you would be able to find it instantly because the title of the notes would have that in it. So you would see sum or difference of 2 cubes here. Okay, so one big thing, I'm going to put a little star here. If you're using my calculator on the test, you have to press math option 4 in order to get the cube root. A lot of people asked me that on the quiz, how they got the cube root. They didn't remember how to use the calculator. Well, on the SAT, you won't have me to do that. So make sure that you start learning that calculator because I do lend them out, but I only have 10 of them. Okay. All right, so here we go. I need the cube root of 125x cubed.
Which is 5.
5. 5 what?
X squared.
5x. Okay, because x times x times x gets me x cubed. What is the cube root of 64?
4.
4. That's already a point for you on the test. Just being able to get those 2 things. Now, always use SOAP. I'm going to set myself up. We're going to be done here in like a minute. You always copy down whatever you wrote right here in the first group. So 5x and 4. Always use SOAP. Same sign as the original, opposite sign of the original, always positive. Always use SOAP. So I'm going to put SOAP underneath here. Same sign, opposite sign, always positive. If you notice this one, we need negative, positive, positive. All right, this first group, you always square the first guy. What is 5 squared? I almost gave it to you. What's 5 squared? 25? This guy, we multiply them together. What is 5x times 4? 20x. What is this guy? We square this one. What's 4 squared? 16. And we're done. That was the one where a lot of people got wrong on the quiz. But I gave you the formula on the quiz, and I will give you the formula on the test. Right? As long as you can apply it. But I will tell you this. It's multiple choice, guys. So you're only going to have 3 multiple choice because your final, I'm getting you ready for your final already. I can't believe it. I just got your final exam scheduled today in the email. Okay, so it's coming sooner than you think. Your final only has 3 choices. We kind of made it easy for you to have a 1 out of 3 shot instead of a 1 out of 4 shot. Okay, so this is going to be multiple choice. The very first thing I would look for is the SOAP. Same sign, opposite, always positive, because that's going to eliminate a choice right away. And then you're down to a 50-50 shot. Okay, use your multiple choice to your advantage. That's why I do multiple choice. What'd you say?
I don't remember how to do it. No, I accidentally forgot how to do it.
That's okay. All right. Number 11. Let's go back to synthetic division. Again, a lot of different stuff was in this unit. So if you weren't here, this is a very perfect opportunity to get like a summary of everything you've learned from me. Okay? So use polynomial synthetic division to divide this by this. So remember, the very first step was to find your 0. So the very first step was to set x minus 6 equal to 0, this guy. So we can do synthetic. So what does x equal in this situation?
Positive 6.
Good. Now remember, that is what we used in our synthetic division, that little L. And you guys got really good at synthetic division. Okay, so I'm going to copy this down. What I notice when I walk around, a lot of people forget the 1. Don't forget that guy. So I have 1, -5, -8, 13, -12. Here we go. Remember, the very first thing you do is you drop down the 1. You multiply when you're on the outside. You add when you're on the inside. So 6 times 1 gets me 6. Add straight down, I get +1. Multiply the outside. 6 times 1 gets me 6. Add straight down. -8 plus 6 gets me -2. Multiply the outside. 6 times -2 gets me -12. Write down, I get 1. 6 times 1 just gets me 6. When I add straight down, I get a -6. Last step, again, this is all going to be multiple choice, so it's going to be great that you have something to refer to. Okay, think about that. Like, I'm having you guys do it without multiple choice to make sure that you understand it. But when you have multiple choice, you're going to be able to see the answer without even having to do all this work. Okay, but remember, we always go down a power. So I started at x to the 4th. So this guy is going to be 1x cubed, go down a power, plus 1x squared, go down a power, minus 2x, go down a power, plus 1, with a remainder of -6. And now again, you won't even have to write this down because you're going to see the answer off to the side in your multiple choice. Are there any questions on this one? The biggest part is the directions on this test, knowing what the question's asking. It's asking you to divide. So I need like a concrete answer. And that's why I gave you multiple choice so you can see like what's expected. Because I think when we do like fill in the blank like yourself, you guys kind of get confused on what we should be doing. So that's why I try to do multiple choice for you. Okay, questions? Okay, you're doing 12 on your own. 13. Now we're going to kind of like, we can still do odds. 13, the remainder theorem states that a linear polynomial is a factor only if the remainder is what? When you do division, to be a factor, what's the remainder always? 0. Okay, so 0. This is literally a question on your test. Like, that is the same question. I am telling you that right now. The very first question on your test is this question. Pretty easy question. When you divide something, 4 divided by 2 is 2. There's no remainder, so it is a factor. All right, so we're doing odds, so go to 15. Just stay consistent. Okay. The question here, again, these are all set up exactly how your test is. That's why I do this for you. Is x minus 4 a factor of this polynomial? So we just talked about that. When we do a remainder, it should be 0. If it's not 0, it's not a factor. Remember, there were 2 ways you can do this. It depends on which way you like. You could either do synthetic, which we just did, or direct substitution. I think a lot of you like direct substitution. It's up to you. What do I mean by that? Well, the very first step is to figure out what the 0 is. What's the 0? 4. Good. So I'm going to show you one method. So you can do this. It's called direct substitution. You can go and plug it all in. Remember when we did this, everyone liked this one. And you're plugging in 4, 4, 4, and let me know when you get what you get when you plug it all in. Use that calculator to your advantage. When you plug in 4 cubed minus 2 times 4 squared minus 11 times 4 plus 12, you get 0. So is it a factor? Yes. So you would circle yes. You would say it's a factor because the remainder is 0. Again, this is the exact question on your test. But again, you could have like the other one you're going to do doesn't come out to be 0. So it could be one that is a factor. It could be one that's not a factor. Okay. Or if you hated that method, you could have done synthetic. Either one is going to get you the right answer. It's totally your choice. Okay? All right. Everyone got that? We're almost there already. 17. I would say 17 is probably the hardest, quote unquote, on the test. So if you weren't paying attention, I would definitely pay attention now. Just because it's a little bit longer, and I would definitely put this one on your note card, just because there's more steps than normal for 17. Okay? This is the one where people, didn't do the homework as much. Okay, so factor this, given that x minus 7 is a factor. We know that that piece is a factor. So when I do synthetic division, you should get 0. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and plug 7 into my synthetic division.
And then put x, I meant 1, I don't know, sorry, 1.
1, -8, 1, and 42. First step, synthetic division. I like to put steps in here. All right, we're good at synthetic. Drop down the 1, multiply. 7 times 1 gets me 7. Add straight down, I get -1. Multiply on the outside, I get -7. Add straight down, I get -6. Add straight down, multiply, I get -42, which gets me 0. Now again, the direction said it is a factor. So that means you should have gotten 0. If you don't get 0, you know you did something wrong. Bust. All right. Now, again, you're going to have this multiple choice off the side and be like, okay, well, I have to keep going because it doesn't tell me, like how on that last problem we did, all the way up here, like it won't be in this format. It'll be in a factor format in your multiple choice. So I do have to write this out. This is going to be step 2, x squared minus x minus 6. If you want to put a 1 there, that's fine. Whatever works for you. So again, you're going to go to the multiple choice and be like, that's not an answer. Because it says it wants you to keep going. It wants you to factor. So what multiplies to -6 and adds to -1? Well, there's only 2 things that multiply to 6. Good, 3 and 2. Which one of them is negative?
The 3.
Very good, the 3.
I'm just guessing.
And now we're going to be done here at this next step. I just want to make sure that I'm not going too fast. I want you to be able to write it down. That's what I said.
What about number 21?
Hold on. We're not even done. We're not done, guys. Okay. This was the hardest topic in Math 3. Because remember, all that stuff that we just did before this, you've done at some point. This was like the biggest, the hardest part of this chapter. But you're capable of it. You know how to do synthetic and you know how to factor, and now you're combining it. Okay, so my final answer, x plus 2, x minus 3. And what's the last one? Does anyone know? Remember from the notes or from way back? X minus 7. Oh. And we're done. That's your answer. So again, there is multiple choice, so you will see that. But take a look. I mean, I started with 3, so I should have 3. And the directions gave me a factor. Glad that one's over. I know it's a lot today, but tomorrow you're going to have a full period to work on this. And today you'll probably have like 10 minutes. I'm not asking that you do it for homework tonight. You can save all of it for tomorrow if you want to. Okay? But you need to make that note card too, so be careful. All right, these ones are the easy ones in my opinion. Okay, we're going to 19. So it says, this is just like your one on the bell ringer. The one on the bell ringer will look exactly like the one on your test. It says, when is the graph greater than 0? So I'm going to make a note. The top is greater. The bottom is less. So be careful with that. So greater would be -4 to -1. Would I use parentheses or brackets here?
Parentheses?
Yep. So -4 to -1. I got one more piece. 3 to where? Yeah, 3 to positive infinity. Good. I like to label these out sometimes. Helps me. And now the other piece is the bottom. Am I going to use parentheses or brackets here? Brackets. This is from yesterday if you were gone. So I have -infinity to the 0 of -4. So negative infinity to -4. And then where to where?
From -1 to 8.
It looks like 8, but yes, 3. Very good. Nice. Again, where do I stop and end? -1's where I start. I end at 3. That's it. I like those ones. And again, this will be multiple choice. We only got one more, guys. Push through. You got this. I know it's a lot today, but I figured we would take a full day to review together and a full day to review on your own. Okay? I'm glad that everyone's here today to get the review. All right. Very, very, very last one is the one where you have to graph it yourself. Okay, so make sure you do have a graphing calculator. The very first step for this one is you have to make sure that you add that 24 to the left side because one side needs to be equal to 0. Otherwise, there's no way that you can do it. So I'm just adding this guy over. And then I'm going to plug it into the calculator. So I'm going to plug this piece right here in green into the graphing calculator. And then this is the piece that I want to report on when it's less than 0. So go ahead and take a moment and graph that on your graphing calculator. Give you a minute. It's like really hard to draw on this one because of how small it is.
Not like by -3, -4.
Mm-hmm. And let me know if you don't know how to graph it. Remember, you press y equals and you type in this green part. And let me know if you get this looking thing. Keep typing it. I'm just going to start drawing it so that you can see. Kind of looks funny on ours, but. Is that what you guys got? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, I like this one. This is my favorite type of question. When it says, when is the graph less than or equal to 0? So first of all, will that be brackets or parentheses?
Bracket.
Brackets, good. I'm going to write something out right here just so that you know what you're looking for. Because if you look above, it kind of like tells you. I'm going to write this. When is the graph less than or equal to 0? That's what it's asking. And we're going to use brackets. What do you think? Is that a hand?
What?
Were you just stretching or?
Yeah.
Okay. So when it's less than would be -4. And where do I stop?
-3.
-3.
-3.
You're done.
How do I put it in?
You go to y equals.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then you just type in just this part. Okay.